Good evening, traders. This is PTSD Trader for Rosemarkie Capital LLC. It's Sunday, February 22nd, and we're getting ready for a new trading week starting tomorrow. Let's start off with the indexes here. Um, the S&P put in a really nice bullish engulfing candle on Friday on pretty heavy volume. It had been consolidating for about 4 straight days, sort of testing the top of this range, teasing traders, making us think that it was a very, very narrow range. So if you were over trading, you probably lost some money in there. Um, but it finally broke out. Um, on a pretty huge candle, pretty decisive candle on news that Greece was finally getting a deal with the ECB to basically kick the can down the road. So we'll see how that works out, but I think we're still in the very early innings of that saga. It looks like Greece now has to, or the new government now has to sell the deal to the Greek parliament. So we will probably be seeing all kinds of news items on that as the week goes on. But anyway, it looks like we could be in breakout mode here, although, you always got to be prepared for any kind of, one candle does not make the breakout here, but it is looking pretty nice. Um, the Dow looks the same, really, nice bullish engulfing candle, which closed at the highs and up and over the top of the range. Um, Same thing with the Russell 2000. It definitely had been in that 3 or 4 candle consolidation, and it put in a real nice candle there. And finally, the comp, which has been led by Apple, has just kind of been on fire, ever since it broke out on February 12th. Um, it's just been on the move. And, one of our theses here at Rosemarkie is that we will definitely hit these, or we will, make a move to hit these highs made back in March 31st, 2000. And I think that will be led by Apple. Some of the ideas that we're looking at this week, um, we'll go through them real quick. Apple, again, as I've talked about in my last video, you got to have your moneymaker. You got to have a religion when you're trying to um, when you need to have a go-to stock that you can trust. And Apple has been it for me. And as I said in the last video, I've just been buying on any weakness. I think we're in a repricing or a revaluation of Apple ever since this quarter here. Um, I think analysts are really beginning to believe that it does not deserve a 17.38 PE, with the numbers that it consistently puts up. So I really think, we're in a repricing zone. Um, Last Friday was a options expiration, so some of the marks that you see here, I was going back and I was looking at previous option expiration Fridays and just seeing how the stock acted. Something I like to do. And um, there was no real pattern that I could discern out of it, but I was, very curious. I figured on Friday, we might get some head fakes because there's been so many calls purchased in the stock. I was a little suspicious that, that in the big call spots, where the 130 calls were huge and the 125 calls were huge. So I was kind of suspicious, but about halfway through the day, I saw that the stock was still acting extremely strong. If you go back to the 5-minute time frame, these last couple of day or last one, two, three, four, five or six trading days, you can really see how the range just got narrower and narrower um, each day, and to me that's a strong sign. When you're in a when you're this far extended from the moving averages, um, we were well above the 9-day moving average, well above the 20-day moving average, and way above the 50-day. And when you see a really narrow consolidation range here, um, where every minor pullback is bought, it's a very strong sign to me. So I really think we're headed to 135 and beyond. I'll be curious to see tomorrow morning if we gap up and over 130 and maybe pull back and kind of test traders here. Maybe either pull back to the top of the candle here or possibly retrace half the candle. So we'll see. But like I said, I'll be barring major market issues, I'll be buying on weakness. Um, Expedia, I really like Expedia. I tweeted out a weekly chart, which I thought was pretty cool. I marked each spot where we had, a surge in weekly volume here. And every single time it's meant higher prices in the over the next 1 to 3 weeks. So here, this latest spike, you can see that the stock moved up to 92.52, so it's testing its highs. This is, ever since um, Travel or Expedia has bought Travelocity and Orbitz, and as a result of that, I really think that Expedia is basically has as much scale as Priceline now. They have a lot of leverage. They can, as they combine operations, they can begin to scale out, and they can begin to capitalize on adding these two revenue streams to their company. So I really think you could. My target here is $100. So tomorrow, I could be buying the stock here as well as some March or April calls. My two go-to biotech stocks have been Biogen and Acadia. Biogen on the daily had this nice gap after earnings, and it toyed with $400 for a while. Um, so it made a high of $409.03. So I'm looking for a move over that. I think once it kind of consolidates and messes with traders' heads for a while here, look for volume to maybe continue to narrow for a couple more days here. And then once enough traders get frustrated, it'll probably take off to the upside. That's what I'm looking for. Um, it's a real tough stock to buy on breakouts. I'd recommend, if you're trying to get involved, maybe a pullback to the 20-day, or a pullback somewhere between the 9 and the 20-day. And if you're brave enough, you can put a stop under here. But I wouldn't mess with options with Biogen, because the spread between the options, the bid and the ask, is pretty limiting. Like I said, Acadia has been on a tear, as I mentioned in my last video. There is a long-standing trend line here that it has basically broken over, or it's at the top of it now. Any day now, there could be the NDA for new plays that I would expect it in the next 1 or 2 weeks. The stock is acting like it's coming out at any minute here. And I do plan on taking some profits when the stock pops on the NDA. I believe a fair price right now is somewhere between 40 and 42. If you price in the home run for Parkinson's and maybe 50 to 60% chance that the drug would be used in Alzheimer's. Although I do think that chance is higher, but if you price in a 50 to 60% chance of Alzheimer's psychosis, disease, revenues plus Parkinson's, you get a nice 3 times sales target, somewhere in the 40 to 42 range. So that's where I'll be taking some profits, but I will be looking to buy as I believe it'll pop on the NDA and then begin a pullback. But I tweeted out a couple days ago there are 3 or 4 catalysts within the next 5 to 6 months, so be on the lookout for those. Twitter. Twitter's been a tricky stock to trade ever since it had the great earnings day where it gapped here. It's been toying with a breakout, and it finally broke out on Friday, and it hit 50, and it pulled back to this 49 line in the sand here, where we'll see what it does tomorrow. But it could very easily, make traders fret as much as possible and maybe go below Friday's low of 48.65. That would probably be a nice scary point to flush some weak hands out. Of course, it could also gap up over this and then pull down in the morning. So I try to think about all these scenarios, before they happen, and then how would I react to each one. The security software space has been on fire. One that I really like, and I actually, own the software as well, is AVG. It's put in a nice inverted head and shoulders here with a neckline at 21. You have the left shoulder here, head, right shoulder, and you have a nice breakout that happened on Thursday and Friday of last week on pretty good volume. So I would look for it to flag out here, maybe come back and test this neckline. I may grab shares there. I'm not an owner right now, but I'm looking to be. And then, of course, you got to watch the gap over the top of that flag. Excuse me. Quick update on King. I own the stock. I own a few calls. I dipped my toe in the water when I tweeted out last week. My concern here is that as I mentioned in the last video here, you have to be a shareholder to get the 94 cents per share special one-time dividend. You have to be a shareholder on March 4th, which means you need to own the stock probably on Friday or Monday, because your shares need to settle before the 4th. So, look for traders to be in this stock who want the special one-time dividend by the 27th. So over the next 2 to 3 trading days, if it's going to pop on this special dividend news, it should begin to pop in the next 2 to 3 days. My concern here is that there is some overhead, because apparently there was a lockup expiring on some shares for some of the officers in the company. So I'm not sure what kind of pressure that can put over the next few days, but I'll be keeping an eye on it. Okay, so those are some ideas for the coming week. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you have a great trading week. Tweet me if you have any ideas or questions. I'd love to hear ideas on anything I've talked about, or anything new. Thanks a lot, and take care.